I just didn't know what type of a bomb. I didn't know if it was terrorist. It's September, so my mind went back to 9/11 immediately.
When you look at that building, I mean, what goes through your mind?
My God, God, let there be survivors. Let them be at work. Let the children be at school. No one be home. When I walked up, it was nothing but clouds of what was going on with the foundation collapsing. So my mind just went to, please, no one be home right now.
And you said when you felt the explosion, can you kind of describe what that was like?
Oh yeah, it blew my door open, my heart. It shook my foundation of my building, my property. It shook, and at that moment, my mind went to bomb. I've heard trains collide. I've heard trucks hit the viaducts. So I know sounds, and I've been here 20 plus years. So I knew it was something horrific happening.
Did you know people that live in that building?
I don't know anyone that live in that building, but I do know God, and I do know humans, and so my heart is just reaching out for anyone that lives in that place.
And can I get your name?
Ashunda, Ashunda, last name Harris, Harris.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Brad, the Plan 2 that was called out here, which brought 10 ambulances to the scene, has now been secured by the fire department. So they are satisfied for the time being that other than the companies that are on the scene, they're not going to need any other EMS assistance at the moment. So that's a good sign. What we've been talking about, and you heard Chief Schroeder a little while ago alluding to that they're shoring up the interior spaces on the building. Basically, what you're going to be doing is going to be doing the entry from the rear. There are rear stairways in here, fire escape, if you will, the back porches leading up to and down, and getting into the interior stairwells, working your way from the back of the building, from the good side of the building to the compromised side of the building. You start up on the 4th floor, this 4-story ordinary constructed building, 35 units. That's a lot of real estate to go through. There are a lot of rooms inside there, stairwells to check and what have you, and you have to check every single room, whether it is a fire or something like this where you've had some sort of overpressuring force, explosion, whether it was gas or some other sort of an explosive device, we don't know. It has the earmarks of gas, considering the fact that it blew out such a large portion and not a very localized strip of the 4th floor, but that remains to be seen. That will be sorted out by the fire department, the bomb squad, the ATF. All those guys are going to be working together. But first things first, you need to secure your life safety here in the building, and that means going through it. A primary search and a secondary search. Special Operations Division on the inside, collapse rescue personnel are inside there with shoring timbers, air shores, hydraulics, whatever they need in order to make sure that rooms that may be compromised can be looked at, searched appropriately, and cleared. That is why we are looking at, even though it looks as though we're right on top of this building, Chopper 2 has a long lens on it, so we're staying blocks away, looking at this from using the telephoto lens, using the push-in on this telephoto in order to stay away from this building. Number one, our own noise footprint. They're going to need to be listening to make sure that there's nobody in there. They will call out, announce that they're the fire department. Is there anybody in here? That's one way to start your search. You want to make sure that if anybody can hear you, if you can't get into them, at least you know they're there. Another way that you can search on the interior of a building is the TIC, the thermal imaging camera. You can go inside there and you can see bodies are warm, people are warm. We're warmer than the outside air. Even when it's warm outside, it's going to be naturally cooler inside those spaces. So they'll go inside with a TIC, with the thermal imaging camera. They will go inside with their tools, and they'll make sure that their safety is preserved so they can get deeper into this building, closer to the collapse zone, closer to the actual compartments that have been compromised in this incident, to make absolutely 100% certain there is nobody else in here. Just because somebody comes out and says, I believe everybody's okay and I believe everybody is out, you can't take that chance. You have to go in there with eyes and make sure that everybody is out. So that is the operation that is underway right now. The outside of the building, nothing is going to be moved here. This is all evidence. Until it is proven that this is not any kind of an aggressive act, that this was some sort of an incident involving a product that allowed for this overpressure, nothing is going to be touched. We have also noticed from Chopper 2, not only, Derek, if you can tilt down just a little bit toward that truck company, he's actually a little bit behind the trees down there, but down to the right. When we come around a little ways, you will actually see window frames that are laying out in the street. And on the roof of the building, upper left corner there, Derek, on the upper part of that building, there's actually wood from the building across the street. There's debris on the roof of that building, which means the propulsive force was enough to take some of the lighter portions of the structure, window frames and what have you, propel them all the way across the street, loft them up over 4 stories, over the parapet wall, and have them settle down onto the roof of the building across the street. You can make those pieces out as we come around now to the east side of the incident scene. The battalion chief's buggy is protected by the truck company. You see it there in the upper left portion of your screen. That is where your chiefs have gathered. That's where your forward staging is. That's where your RIT team, your rapid intervention team. You have guys who are on the outside making sure that the guys on the inside can get help in a rapid fashion should anything go wrong. The phase of the operation right now, you've had your rescue phase. Now you're in the search phase. Just to make sure, very slowly, very concisely, very methodically going through the interior of that building, getting closer and closer to the collapse section, making sure that you don't step onto or put weight on a compromised piece of structure that could land you on the next floor down or worse, or cover up somebody who may be underneath on the floor below. So you start at the critical floor up on the top, you're working your way down, you got companies on the downward side, on the lower floors working their way up, you cross paths in between. So your primary becomes a secondary, and your secondary becomes or your other primary becomes a secondary. You're going to cross paths, going to get a couple of companies in there, and make sure that you redouble your efforts to make sure that the first team that went in didn't miss something. So life safety is what it's all about, not only for the first responders who came out here, who are working in a compromised structure, but they're out here for you. They're out here to make sure that anybody else who may be inside there that nobody knows about is helped out. So far, it sounds like it's clear. Subject to change. We're watching from a distance. Brad, back to you. Go inside on the window frame by the truck now. Well, if you're measuring basically across the street, you're over 100 feet away from the building. That window frame, and I'm referring to the actual debris that's on the roof of the building across the street. There may be other debris that was lightweight, like window frames that got broken and lofted, since they're predominantly wood with a little thin strip of metal in there, the runner to allow those double hung windows to go up and down. That window frame, it's a testament to the fact that there was an overpressure that was widespread. It was distributed over that entire wall and pushed that window frame. Instead of shattering it, it pushed it out laterally as one unit. So that shows the uniformity of that overpressure that took place. So when the explosion, quote unquote, happened, that overpressure that blew everything out laterally was distributed over a wide area, which means it encompassed more than just one room. So that is why the roof actually lifted up. You can see this is kind of this building is shaped like a giant capital letter I, and part of the upper portion of that I has been, it looks like it's chewed away, but actually the roof membrane allowed the roof to stay together. It opened up kind of like if you purse your lips and your upper lip kind of curves up to the top, that roof went up during the blast, and then after the wall blew out, it came back down and settled to where that wall used to occupy. So there's
Austin. This is an update to a structure that collapsed at Washington and Central Avenue this morning. We first brought you this during the 9 o'clock hour of Good Day Chicago. The updated information that we have from Chicago Fire Department is that 6 people have been taken to the hospital, and we now have Sally Schulze, who's there live on the scene. Let's get the latest from her. Good morning.
We are live here on the scene, a rather chaotic scene at this point. So many fire trucks, so many emergency crews. That explosion happened across the street from me right here. You see the building. This is all happening on Central at West End. This is getting a response like a mass casualty. We are told there has been a confirmed explosion. The explosion source is not known. We know that ATF is out here on the scene helping. The CPD bomb unit is here. A lot of people have been hurt. There have been 6 transports so far. We understand that 3 of those victims are in serious to critical condition. And also we've got some gas crews out here. We understand from People's Gas, they are on the scene. They are saying there's no reason at this point to believe that the cause is related to any gas or any of the equipment. We also got a statement from the owner of the building saying this happened approximately 9 a.m. in a building that is owned by West End LLC, managed by Urban Alternatives. They're calling it a devastating event, saying they're heartbroken for the residents. The first concern, of course, the health and well-being. Again, several people have gone to the hospital for this. They sent about 10 ambulances out here to the scene. As I walked up the street, I just arrived on the scene. It is just lined with fire trucks here, so many crews, and you see the force of this blast. Bricks thrown all the way across the road here. I'm being told that there is some debris from this explosion well down the street, showing just how powerful this was. We are expecting to hear from authorities here on the scene shortly. We are going to be staying out here on the scene. We'll be bringing you the very latest. For now, Sally Schulze reporting live. Back to you.
Thank you, Sally. And again, this is at Central and Washington there in the Austin neighborhood, where we have been looking at what is an explosion that took place this morning. And we're going now to Sky Fox. It's giving you the view from up above, and you can just see all of the debris littered around that street. We've talked to some of the people who are there on the scene, and they've said that they saw the blast and then that there were windows broken out of several of the vehicles that were there on the scene. Let's hear from one of the people we talked to earlier today.
Anybody that lived at least 12 blocks from here had to hear it. There was a smell of gas, a real strong smell of gas.
And you did smell
I did smell natural gas. As I was running, I seen glass blown out of windows, car windows, home windows, people doors blown open like mine was. My front door was ajar. So it knocked locks from our doors open.
So you could hear there one of the ladies who was there in that area. She said that she heard the smell of natural gas. I want to go back to People's Gas and the statement that Sally referenced just a short while ago. They have said that there is no reason at this point to believe the cause is related to gas or any of their equipment. While the cause of the incident is still unknown, we're still getting more information in. We'll be bringing you that information. We are expecting an update to come from first responders here within the next hour. We will bring that live to you as well. We're going to have also the very latest coming up on Fox 32 News at noon. Just stay with us right here on the air. We'll take you back to local programming now.
Stand by. Well, indeed, Marie, what you're looking at here is you've got a very large acreage, 35-unit, 4-story, ordinary constructed residential structure that has been severely compromised by an overpressure that demolished 3/4 of the top floor on the east side of the building. So what you're looking at is actually the upper floor has completely been pancaked by the roof. The roof pancaked down after being lifted up by the explosion, while the forward wall, the eastern exposure wall, blew out into and across the street. In the foreground, down underneath the banner where it says South Austin there's actually, and Derek, if you could tilt down just a little bit, we'll show you some of the debris on the building across the street. There's actually parts of window frames and other light masonry items that have actually made it completely across the street on top of the building on the other side. It's actually gone up and over the parapet wall and been lofted and has come down, rained down onto the top of that structure there. So obviously a very large propulsive force, a lateral force. It blew the debris out in kind of a fan pattern away from that 4th floor area. Firefighters are operating, you can see on the upper right corner of our screen, right there at West End and Central. They're in the safe zone, a little pie-shaped section that is out of the collapse zone, which is basically anything in front of the building. You also noticed in our live shot there at ground level, there are charged hose lines all over the place. If in fact, and I couch that as a potential, if in fact this was a gas explosion, and this has all the earmarks of a gas explosion, the damage is right, the location is right, the overpressure is correct for a large expansive force that would be provided by a momentary ignition of gas when it reached its flammable range. If in fact this was gas, you could still have that source of gas leaking into other compartments on this building. So that's why you have charged hose lines. That's why your trench and collapse rescue guys are going through there. Your special operations trained personnel from the Chicago Fire Department are in there with shoring timbers, air shores, hydraulics, what have you, and working very slowly from the non-compromised or the good side of the building on the alley side toward the bad part of the building that has been severely compromised on the street side. Going very methodically, very carefully through here. 35 units is a lot of space to check. You've got stairwells, you've got bathrooms, you've got closets, you've got bedrooms, you've got living rooms, you've got kitchen areas. All of those things, including the kitchen areas especially, if this was a gas explosion, you've got gas ranges, you've got other sources of ignition that were potentially in there. Of course, the gas service by now, utilities would have been shut off to this building unless there could be a valve that was compromised that doesn't allow that to happen. Don't believe that that's the case. Guys are inside there actively searching right now. You can't see that from this angle because we're looking at the compromised portion of the building. But inside there, very methodically, they're going through from the bad floor all the way down to the first floor. So top to bottom, bottom to top, making sure you're doing a primary and a secondary search. Life safety is all important. When the first companies arrived on the scene, saw the open and compromised building, got all of the people that could be immediately identified as injured off to advanced care. So great work by the fire department getting everybody out of here. Next thing, you've got a mass casualty bus, and basically what that is to get people into one area. It's a hot day, it's a humid day. There's been a trauma out here. These people are going through a lot, the residents that are displaced by this, and you don't want them standing out on the street. That does two things for you. That keeps them safe, keeps their kind of mental health a little bit more stable because they're being seen by professionals here on the scene, firefighters, medics, human resources, they're all out here, or human services are out here, and basically taking care of those folks. You got to keep them cool, keep them calm, and more importantly, keep them together so you know where they're at. Sure thing. A bunch of the things that are going to happen here. This is a multi-tiered effort. First of all, you're working to preserve any potential evidence. Obviously, the building is all evidence, so you're trying to not move as much as possible unless you have somebody that you have to rescue. Risk a lot to save a lot, risk a little to save a little. A special operations division, these guys are specially trained in collapse rescue, so they're inside with what we call air shores, rams, knowing how to use timbers to cut them with hand tools, with saws and whatnot, to make sure that the walls are shored up. You could have stud walls on the inside that have been compromised that could fall down. You're immediately in recognition of any kind of sagging floors because you could have load-bearing walls that have been compromised. Another important tool is what we call the TIC, the thermal imaging camera. You can go inside there and stand back and scan a room, and human bodies, you know, we're almost 100 degrees, each one of us, so that basically provides a very definitive heat signature even if you can't see that person. If they're buried in rubble, a 2x4 is not nearly going to be as hot as a human being, so you can see them in any kind of a collapse. So that is what is happening right now that you can't see on the interior of the building.
here, guys? Raise it up, too. You know how to do it? Higher. Right there. You're going to have to step forward, boss. Thank you.
Can you speak really loudly because we're too far away?
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay, my name is Mark Furman, and that's spelled M-A-R-C-F-E-R-M-A-N. I am the Deputy Fire Commissioner. Okay, so at approximately 0900 hours this morning, we got a call for a still alarm. Companies were dispatched. Upon arrival, our first arriving unit was our battalion chief. He called for a collapse response. Observed that there was some sort of explosion and a partial collapse of the upper floor of a residential building. Companies responded. He escalated the alarm to a still-in box and also called for a hazardous material response, level 1. Due to the size of the building, number of patients, victims, EMS Plan 2 was requested, which is 10 ambulances. We had approximately 135 personnel on the scene, and that's suppression, special ops, and EMS. We had 8 transports, and that included 1 victim from across the street, a building across the street. Various hospitals, different conditions. I don't have that update for you right now. Right now, we don't know what caused this incident. It's still under investigation. We did call for the gas company to come and shut the gas off, the electricity, water department, OEMC, building department is all on the scene. We have displaced residents. We don't know how many at the time. What else? Due to the condition of the building, it called for a technical sort of to search the entire building. The upper floors, it was compromised. So we had to get our technical experts in here to shore up with struts to make sure we didn't leave any victims underneath any of the debris. A lot of debris to remove. We're still in the process of doing that, but they had to shore up the upper floors to search for possible victims in this collapse of pretty much the 3rd floor on one side of the building. That's pretty much all I have. We're still ongoing with our operations. Right now, we don't have any more victims, and so that's all I have for you right now. Thank you.
Confident you got everybody out?
Right now, we feel like we're confident we got everybody out. But right now, the air quality's good. The gas is shut off, like I say. We've got set area arrays set up. Our metering has been negative so far.
The nature of the...
No, I do not. I'm sorry. I think the building department mentioned probably 35 units. So searches are still ongoing. Our primary, our secondary is complete. We're in the process of a final search. But like I say, the 4th floor is compromised. We also searched the exposure building to the south here. That was negative. And we also searched the building across the street where we had a victim transported.
What are the nature of the injuries? Can you explain that?
I'm sorry?
The nature of the injuries.
Various injuries. I've heard burns to traumatic injuries. So I don't know that, but we have the building department on site. I'm sure they're going to conduct their investigation and do a structural analysis of the building.
People that were in...
No, we're keeping everybody out of the collapse zone right now.
People that live in the building said that they did smell gas this morning before the explosion. Is that what you're hearing as well?
I have no knowledge of what happened prior.
Were the people conscious who was walked out?
I can't answer that. They were transported early on.
Another witness told me that they were doing work in the building. Any idea on that?
I have no doubt. That'll probably all be part of the investigation.
You said the 3rd?
Just out of range of debris falling.
So all of the folks that live in the building
that are adjacent aren't going to
We're going to shut down the entire area, access to this area, so nobody will be allowed in close proximity of the structure.
You said the third floor collapsed as well. Is that? It looks like the fourth floor.
Fourth floor.
Just
Fourth
the
floor. I'm sorry. Fourth floor. I can't answer that, but we're just maintaining a safety distance so that we don't get injured anymore. So thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Is there any way we can take a look at that ladder company that's in the street there, take a close look and see if there's debris on top of that truck? I want to see if that happened after he arrived. Because there seems to be a debris shadow behind that truck, like it was here when the explosion took place. See if there's any. Nah, there's debris behind it, so he pulled up right after. Chopper 2 to base, we gotta go for fuel. All right, we're done. Go for fuel. Keep that picture up. They're still in the double box. Kind of hold it as we're departing. No, we're actually beyond our fuel range now. Kind of keep the picture up as we're going. Sorry about that. We overstayed our fuel, so we're pretty tight here.